Tonight, we're going to visit places most people try not to think about. Places where the roads stretch too long, the towns feel too quiet, and something always seems just a little off. These aren't ghost stories. There are no monsters here. Just people, silence, and the feeling that you were never as alone as you thought. Make yourself comfortable and listen.
It wasn't on my route, and it definitely wasn't on my map. But when you're driving through rural America at night, sometimes you don't really get to choose. I was hauling freight from Missouri down toward Texas. Nothing special, just another overnight drive, empty roads, the kind of quiet that hums in your ears when there's no radio on. Around 1:40 a.m., my fuel gauge dipped lower than I expected. I remember muttering to myself, annoyed. I could have sworn I had another 100 miles in the tank. The nearest gas station popped up on my GPS, a town with a name I didn't recognize. Population listed as under 600. That should have been my first warning. The exit ramp was barely visible. No lights, no signs, just a narrow road cutting into the darkness like it didn't want to be found. As I drove deeper, the air felt different. Thicker, heavier, like the night was pressing in from all sides. The town itself barely qualified as one. A few dark buildings, a closed diner, an old post office with peeling paint, and one gas station. It sat at the edge of town, lights buzzing faintly, the kind of place that looks abandoned until you're right up on it. I pulled in and shut off the engine. The silence hit immediately. No crickets, no wind, nothing. The shelves were half empty, stocked with brands I didn't recognize. Behind the counter stood a man, late 50s maybe, thin, pale. His eyes never left me as I walked in. "Pump's working," he said quietly, before I even spoke. His voice was flat, not rude, just tired. I nodded and paid in cash. As I turned to leave, he added, "You shouldn't stay long." I paused. Something about the way he said it made my skin tighten. "Why's that?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. "They don't like visitors," he said finally. I almost laughed, but the look in his eyes stopped me. "Who?" I asked. Again, silence. He just shook his head slightly. Outside, I started pumping gas. That's when I noticed the houses. They weren't far, just beyond the station, lining the road into town. Every single one of them had its porch light on. Every single one. And every porch had someone standing on it. Not moving, not talking, just watching. At first, I told myself they were statues. Or maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me in the dark. But then one of them moved. Just a small shift, a head tilting slightly. I swallowed hard and focused on finishing up. That's when I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, deliberate. I turned. The clerk was standing just outside the door now. "You need to leave," he said. "Now." "What's going on?" I asked. He didn't look at me. He was watching the houses. "They start walking when the engine stops," he said quietly. "They wait for silence." My chest tightened. As if on cue, I heard another sound, bare feet on pavement, then another, then several more. I looked again. The people on the porches were gone. They were in the street now, walking toward the station. Not fast, not slow, all in sync. I fumbled the keys twice, fuel splashing everywhere. The engine roared to life, shattering the silence. The figures stopped, all at once. I slammed the gear and peeled out. In the mirror, they watched me leave. I drove until sunrise without stopping. Online, nothing, just one old post describing the same place. "If you hear footsteps after midnight, don't turn the engine off again." I never stop there now, because they're still waiting. I took the job because nobody else wanted it. That should have told me enough right there. It was a night shift position, caretaker for a property way out in the countryside. No town nearby, no neighbors, just land and an old farmhouse sitting in the middle of it. The owner told me my only responsibility was simple. "Stay inside after dark," he said. "Make sure the lights stay on." I laughed a little when he said it. He didn't. The place was about 40 miles from the nearest highway. Gravel roads, cornfields on both sides. By the time I arrived, the sun was already dipping low. The house looked older than the photos. Paint peeling, windows clouded with age. but it was solid, clean inside, too clean. Like nobody actually lived there, but someone made sure it looked that way. The owner hesitated as he handed me the keys. "If you hear knocking," he said, "don't answer it. It's not animals. It's people." The first few hours were quiet, just the sound of wind brushing through the fields. Then, the lights. If I turned one off, another would flick on behind me, again and again. By 11, I felt watched. I checked every room, every corner. Nothing. That's when I heard it. A knock. 3 taps on the front door. I froze. "Don't answer it." Then, another knock. From the back door. My heart started pounding. Then a voice. A woman's voice. Soft. Calm. "Hello," she said. "I know you're in there." I didn't move. "I just need to use your phone," she continued. "My car broke down." Her voice sounded wrong. Too steady. Too practiced. I stepped closer to the window and peeked through the curtain. There was a woman standing on the porch. Late 30s maybe. Clean clothes. No coat. But her feet. Bare. Standing on frozen ground. Not moving. Not shifting her weight. Just smiling. "I can see your shadow," she said. My stomach dropped. Another voice joined hers. From the side of the house. Then another. Different ages. Different tones. All saying the same thing. "Please open the door." The lights began flickering. One by one. On. Off. On. I backed away slowly. Then the knocking stopped. The silence was worse. A moment later, the power cut out. Complete darkness. Then the generator kicked in. The lights came back on. And the house wasn't empty anymore. Footprints. Wet. Dirty. Leading from the doors into the hallway. Stopping right outside the room I was in. I heard breathing. Right on the other side of the wall. Slow. Patient. Waiting. I don't remember grabbing my keys. I don't remember opening the door. I just remember running. Through the fields. Through the dark. Branches cutting my arms. Voices calling my name behind me. Laughing now. I didn't look back until I hit the road. The house was dark. Completely. Except for one window. The light flicked on. And someone stood there. Watching. I quit that job. Didn't ask for my pay. Didn't report anything. But weeks later, I got a message from the owner. Just 3 words. "You answered them." I never went back. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear knocking. I used to work nights at a roadside motel. The kind of place nobody plans on staying at. They just end up there. It sat off a 2-lane highway, miles from the nearest town. No restaurants nearby. No streetlights. Just a flickering sign that buzzed louder than it should have. Vacancy. I was the only employee on the night shift. Front desk. Security. Everything. Most nights were quiet. Truckers. Couples passing through. People who didn't want to talk. That night was different. Around 12:17 a.m., a man walked in. Tall. Broad shoulders. Work boots caked with dried mud. He didn't say hello. Just stood there, staring at the wall behind me. "I need a room," he said. His voice was calm. Too calm. I handed him the form. He didn't look at it. "I'll be staying more than one night," he added. I nodded. That's when I noticed his hands. Scratched. Red around the knuckles. Like he'd been digging or clawing at something. He took room 7. End of the row. The one nobody liked. An hour later, the phone rang. Room 7. I picked up. Nothing. Just breathing. Slow. Wet. I asked if everything was okay. The line went dead. 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. Same room. This time he spoke. "There's someone outside my window," he said. I checked the monitor. The cameras showed nothing. "No one's there," I said. He laughed softly. "I know." That's when I realized something. Room 7's window didn't face outside. It faced the woods. And the cameras didn't reach that far. At 2:03 a.m., another guest came to the desk. A woman, barefoot, shaking. She kept looking over her shoulder. "He's watching me," she whispered. "Who?" I asked. She pointed toward the rooms. "He asked me to help him," she said. "Said his car broke down." My stomach tightened. What room is he in? I asked. She swallowed. 7.
My stomach dropped. Sir, I said carefully, is there anyone else in the house? No. Are you sure? Yes. Another breath. Then he said something that made my hands go cold. He's wearing my boots. I swallowed. Sir, I said, how do you know that? Because I took them off before bed, he replied, and I can hear gravel when he shifts his weight. In the background, I heard it, a faint crunching sound, like someone standing very still on dirt. Sir, I said, I need you to listen to me very carefully. I am, he whispered. He knows I'm on the phone. The lights went out, all of them, in the dark. I heard footsteps, not running, walking, circling. Then a knock, on the office door, one slow tap. I just need one more room, he said softly. I stayed frozen until morning. Didn't move, didn't breathe. When the sun came up, the police arrived. They searched the woods. They found disturbed soil, fresh, but no bodies, no man, no woman. They shut the motel down a week later, said it was unsafe, condemned. But sometimes when I drive past that highway late at night, the sign is lit again, vacancy, and room 7's light is always on.
That got my attention. Are you inside the house right now? I asked. Yes. Doors locked. Yes. Lights on. No.
I told him to turn on a light. He didn't respond. Instead, he whispered, he's closer now. Sir, I said, keeping my voice even. Do you see someone? No, he replied. I hear him. What do you hear? Breathing. I typed faster, dispatching units. Sir, where are you in the house? In the living room. Is there a safe room? A bedroom you can lock? Yes. Go there now. I can't, he said. Why not? He's standing in the hallway. I answered 911 calls for almost 7 years. After a while, you think you've heard everything. Screaming, crying, people begging for help. You learn how to stay calm. That night, calm didn't help. It was just after 2 a.m., the kind of hour where calls slow down and your thoughts get louder. Then my screen lit up. Rural line, unincorporated area. I answered, 911, what's your emergency? There was breathing, slow, controlled, not panicked. I think someone is outside my house, a man said. His voice was steady but tight. Okay, I replied. What's your address? He gave it to me. Middle of nowhere. Dirt road. Nearest unit was at least 20 minutes out. What makes you think someone's outside? I asked. He paused. Because my dog stopped barking, he said. My stomach dropped. Sir, I said carefully, is there anyone else in the house? No. Are you sure? Yes. Another breath. Then he said something that made my hands go cold. He's wearing my boots. I swallowed. Sir, I said, how do you know that? Because I took them off before bed, he replied, and I can hear gravel when he shifts his weight. In the background, I heard it, a faint crunching sound, like someone standing very still on dirt. Sir, I said, I need you to listen to me very carefully. I am, he whispered. He knows I'm on the phone. The line went dead. Police arrived 26 minutes later. The house was empty. No signs of forced entry. No struggle. They found the man's phone, still connected to 911, on the kitchen counter. They never found him. But weeks later, I pulled the call logs. The second call, the one I didn't answer. The recording was saved. It was quiet. No panic. No struggle. Just a man speaking softly, into the phone, into the silence, saying my name. I don't work nights anymore, but sometimes when my phone rings late, I let it go to voicemail, because every now and then, there's a message, just breathing, slow, patient, waiting for me to answer. Didn't realize the pattern at first. Nobody ever does. It wasn't until I'd heard the stories that things started to feel familiar. The truck driver, the farmhouse caretaker, the motel clerk, the 911 operator. Different people, different places, Same kind of silence. I started noticing it while driving at night. How empty the roads felt. How often my headlights caught things at the edge of the beam that weren't there a second later. I told myself it was exhaustion. That's what everyone tells themselves. The first time it happened to me, it was subtle. I stopped at a rest area just after midnight. No other cars. No lights except the vending machines humming softly. I sat in my car for a moment before getting out. That's when I noticed something strange. My radio was on. I never leave it on. Low volume, just enough to hear a voice. A man speaking calmly, telling a story. When I recognized my story, I shut the radio off. The silence rushed in, too fast, too complete. I walked toward the restroom. Halfway there, I heard footsteps behind me. Not close, not far, keeping pace. I stopped. They stopped. I didn't turn around. I already knew what I'd see. Back in my car, my phone buzzed. A voicemail. No missed call. Just a message. I didn't listen to it. Not then. Not ever. Things escalated after that. Porch lights turning on when I drove past. People standing too still at gas stations. Voices that sounded familiar, but slightly off. Like they practiced. One night, I woke up to breathing. Right next to my bed. Slow. Controlled. I didn't open my eyes. I didn't move. The breathing stopped. In the morning, my boots were by the door. I hadn't taken them off there. That's when I understood. The stories weren't warnings. They were instructions. I don't travel at night anymore. I don't answer unknown calls. I don't open doors for anyone I don't know. But it doesn't matter. Because once you notice them, once you start listening, they don't need permission anymore. Sometimes, when it's very quiet, I hear someone outside. Not knocking, not walking, just standing there, waiting for the silence to feel complete. If you're hearing this late at night, if you're alone, if the room feels a little too still, you might want to check something for me. Look around. Make sure your doors are locked, your lights are on, and listen carefully. If you hear breathing and it doesn't sound like yours, don't turn around. They already know you're listening.
If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. But before you go to sleep, before you turn the lights off, just take a moment. Listen to the room around you. Because sometimes the quiet isn't empty. Good night.